What is up, party people? I'm Michael Govier. That is the Roto-Gut, Vlad Sedler. We are FTN Fantasy. We are stoked to do this draft tonight. I'm not drafting officially, but I've got so much intensity. I got a buzz brewing. I did an auction draft tonight, Vlad. I'm fired up for this NFFC $250,000 overall grand prize online championship. You got the number one pick, Vlad. How you feeling? What are we doing? Let's go.
Yeah, man. You got me all pumped up. I got some new DVR boxes, got them replaced because we had some issues with just, when you're watching something on DVR and then it just stops, and it just skips over the words and you kind of miss the reason for you actually having the, paying insane amounts for cable. Yeah. I got new boxes. And so right before this, I'm scrambling, trying to get some shows taped that we have for tonight just to make sure the wife is happy and I can sit here and draft. But yeah, man, we're about a minute away. I guess I'm on the clock, and I don't think I've even decided yet what I want to do. Through all my OC drafts, I've got 3 Christian McCaffreys, and I got 1 Jonathan Taylor. I got Jonathan Taylor in my very first draft a month ago, and I got him 3rd overall. So we'll see. I'm about to make my decision.
Yeah, this is exciting. I'm so stoked for this. We've done several of these live streams. If you're down with drafting, if you're still in the heart of your draft season for fantasy football, which many of you still are, I got another auction tomorrow night, and I've got 2 more drafts coming up this weekend. So this is a great tool. Remember that it's a 12-teamer, and we're not going to talk about players directly because we don't want to influence the board. So just a few ground rules for you if you're new to our stream. We'll talk about a player as soon as they hit the board, but in the meantime, we won't allude to them because we don't want to interfere with everybody else who's drafting. But Vlad's got the number one spot here, and he's going to talk about his picks. We'll look at other players and their drafts as they unfold. As we begin the draft, Vlad, it is your board, my friend. Here we go.
I can't get enough, man. I can't get enough. You only live once. Injury risk and all, whatever you want to call it. I don't live my life like that. I can't. Him, guys like Saquon Barkley, guys that are healthy now that have been injured in the past. I'm just not considering them injury prone. And I love Jonathan Taylor. He's a phenomenal player. He could easily be the number one. Once again, he averaged 22 points plus in this format last season. My issue is I'm in an overall competition with over maybe almost 5,000 teams, and I need a smash with that number one pick. And Jonathan Taylor's fantastic, can average maybe the same or as last year, 22, 24 fantasy points a game. A healthy McCaffrey can average 27, 28 because the difference of how many balls they catch is out of this world. You're talking about McCaffrey, PPR monster. It's a cheat code to get 1 point for every reception. And this guy's going to catch 7, 8, 10 balls a game. Whereas Taylor last season, I think he only had 2 or maybe 3 games with over 5 receptions in a game. So, yeah, that's my pick.
And Nyheim Hines will be behind him. And he's a great pass-catching receiver out of the backfield. That'll always be a factor. So I think McCaffrey is the better boomer bust play. Also, Matt Ryan is in Indianapolis now, too. And I think that's interesting because, we're kind of getting stuck in this routine with Indianapolis picking up veteran, almost past their prime quarterbacks. We had Phillip Rivers, and we had last year's debacle with Mr. He shall not be named from Washington. I don't think I'd have him on any of my fantasy teams ever. But Matt Ryan is a really accurate quarterback, and I think the passing game is going to be much more involved this year with Taylor getting a reduction in carries, maybe by 10 or 15% max. Still a great player, but I think McCaffrey the ceiling is higher for him. I truly do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and the other thing is obviously Indianapolis was a great team last year offensively and defensively. And obviously Matt Ryan, I believe, is an upgrade on Carson Wentz. Absolutely. I don't think there are going to be a lot of games where they're trailing. They have a more well-balanced offense. You got Alec Pierce in the mix. You've got Paris Campbell. Hopefully can stay healthy. This is a great offensive line. It's a fantastic team. So Taylor will play a lot, but there will be some games where they're just blowing him out of the water, and they're not going to do it like last year. They're just going to bring in Nyheim and let him, I think, get some carries.
Yeah, there's no doubt about that. Also, if you're new to the stream, 3rd round reversal is how this draft works in the online championship. And if you want to play in one, it's 350 bones. That'll get you through the front door. There's still plenty of drafts going on until kickoff next Thursday, even beyond that. I bet. How does that work? Do you know? Do they do drafts even after Thursday kickoff?
Yeah, that's actually a great time to draft. I have a couple of scheduled there. Somebody like Nelson Sousa is going to probably have 20 drafts that weekend. So there are drafts going on Friday and Saturday after the Thursday night game. And ADP, the script is flipped absolutely. So what happens is if somebody like an Isaiah McKenzie, who's already going like in 10th, 11th round now, if he scores a couple of touchdowns, gets 100 plus yards, you're going to see his ADP go up quite a bit. You might even see something like Cooper Kupp. Say he goes 2 for 25 for whatever reason, and it's an Allen Robinson game, and Allen Robinson scores 2 touchdowns with 140 yards, something like that. You'll see Allen Robinson go borderline first, second round, and Cooper Kupp even possibly fall out of the first round. There'll be so much sort of overreaction. So if you are a volume drafter, you want to get yourself a little bit integrated with those drafts that happen after Thursday Night Football.
And even if you don't catch these streams live, I've done several drafts with Nelson, the franchise. He's given me his number, by the way. I know how many OCs he's done. The number was staggering. It was huge, and he's still not done. The guy has a draft machine. All right, so we are in second round, number 2. If you want to drop some comments in, please drop your comments, your questions. We're happy to talk about it. There's a lot going on right now. I know that there's a fever, there's a fire inside a lot of your bellies for football right now. So if there's something that's sticking in your craw or something that you want to know about that you feel you need an answer to, RotoGut is here. Make sure you follow him on Twitter at RotoGut, of course. I'm at MJ Govier. FTN Fantasy, subscribe to our YouTube. We got a lot of great packages with football related. In fact, we got a DFS package. If you sign up for tomorrow, for 1 p.m. on Thursday, use the code MILLY, M-I-L-L-Y. You can save some money on that DFS package. And these guys are incredible. I'm so excited for our DFS coverage this year, man. It's going to be sick. It's going to be so much fun, and there's going to be a lot of money to be made.
Yeah, and I think most people know Two Gun, who's one of the most dominant, profitable players over the last few years. Actually won the Millie Maker 3 times, all 3 times with Green Bay Packers stack. So obviously, big Aaron Rodgers and Devontae Adams.
Really?
Fan. Yeah, he's one of the he's heavily involved with our company. He's going to be the main feature on our Sunday AM live streams, and these are live streams that actually you and I are going to rotate in terms of hosting. I'm gonna host that first one Sunday morning, and then you're gonna see Govier for the next couple of weeks. But yeah, being able to host him, and then Sam Chaudhry, who is another one of our guys who came over from he worked for PFF and Football Outsiders, a really good data guy, and he's another high stakes player. He plays in the Thunderdome, which is the $5,000 entry over on DraftKings. So we got some winners on our side. So make sure you join us, ftndaily.com. And use that code Millie, M-I-L-L-Y, as in $1 million, not as in, Millie Bobby Brown from Stranger Things season 1.
11, yes, that's right, very good. I'm way behind. Speaking of DVRs and Stranger Things, I got a lot of catching up to do on that. I think I'm at least 2 seasons behind, but I'll have to wait till football season's over because there's not going to be time as Vlad is on the clock for round 2.
Yeah, this is working out pretty nicely. I did just have an article come out. Basically, it was so big. Our editor Daniel Kelly's like, you got to split it up. It's basically my predictions, bold predictions, one for each team, and obviously it's we split it up AFC, NFC, and one of them involved Deebo Samuel, and just a little bit of concern that I have for him, even though I loved him, was invested last year. I'm having a hard time. It's obviously a great spot for him, but there's some issues that I have personally that I'm concerned about with him, but I got 2 guys that fall in perfectly for me here. So I'm just going to go ahead and click them. I can't get enough AJ Brown, so I'm going to grab another share, kind of going all in. Really don't want to kind of split things up. Like if I really like a player, I'm just going to go for it. If I lose on a bunch of teams because of these players, so be it. I'll go back at it next season. So that's one. And then another I feel is a great deal here. And that would be Leonard Fournette of Tampa. Oh, wait. 3rd round reversal. I do not get a pick. I can't believe.
Was that a test? Were you testing us?
No, man. It's again. You're catching it live stream 9 at night here my time. Obviously not as late as it is for you midnight. But man, I'm just cooked, and I forget. Yeah, I got to wait another run around here. I thought I was just like taking candy from babies here.
You did. It was too easy. That's what it was. It was too easy.
Yeah. Either way, I would have taken the receiver here. Running back would be a decent start. And there are a couple of running backs that I like. The one I mentioned who was just taken and then someone else. And by the way, Richard Zito, who is an NFFC player, he said he wanted to hop into a draft that I was in. He's picking right now, right after me.
Zytor, my man. All right. What's up, Richard?
At this point before me, so he'll get the next pick before me. He was picked second overall with the Taylor Chubb start. It is, Nate. It's third round
Nate.
Reversal, buddy.
We got it. We're under control now. Everything's fine. Connor wants to know, would you say that's early for Pittman? I mean, I don't think so.
Not in the NFFC. And I know that Nelson is partially responsible when he's in the draft rooms every night. And when he's at a 1 pick, he's usually clicking on that Pittman button right around there at the turn. So these days, and the upside with him and that offense, and he's a beast. So it's about where he goes in NFFC. If you want to get him in the 3rd round, you got to go on like ESPN or Yahoo. But you won't get paid. No, you will not get paid. But he's been going around 23 since Monday. We're doing ADP on NFC if you want to follow along. Since Monday, kind of keep it as relevant as possible to see the movement with all the training camp cuts. A few players, I got to say, farewell, my friend. A dearly departed running back from Houston was cut the other day, and I know that bummed you out. So we're going to miss him. But he's going to pick up somewhere else. You tweeted that. He'll be fine. He'll be Marlon Mack?
Oh yeah,
he signed with they kept him around. He's on the practice squad. So I'm going to be a stubborn bastard. I'm going to say he's going to make. I'm not going to draft him, but he's going to make some sort of impact this season. I know coming back from what he dealt with health wise is going to be difficult, but he wasn't all that bad in the preseason. And obviously, holding Rex Burkhead there makes a lot more sense. The Houston Texans ended up cutting Royce Freeman, formerly of the Broncos. So. There's a chance. Tell me there's a chance.
Marty says, what's up, my guy Vlad? Finally caught you guys live, but it's 1 a.m. Got to go to sleep. LOL. Have a great draft. All right, Marty.
Yeah, Marty's a long time pal, probably like 10 years. He's been, he's part of the Jake Seeley Nando crew. And thanks for catching it. And by the way, you can watch this anytime. So as you say, in perpetuity, right?
That's the key. Nelson's draft boards. I did one too, and I did the whole draft. So if you want to see a complete draft, because usually we do about 12 rounds or so, depending on what's going on that night. But if you want to see a complete draft, I did one last week, an online championship. Vlad was the host, and we had a special guest with our friend Zach Waxman showing up. So if you want to see a complete board in real time, that is always available in perpetuity on the FTN YouTube.
He clued you in on that little thing, right? With the
yeah, remember that?
Yeah. Do we out it?
Remember what he said? Well, how he outed me. He gave me a huge favor. If you missed that stream, he did me a huge favor and helped me get a tight end. I'm really glad I picked up as my last pick of the draft, which was really funny. So it's likely that you might find it funny if you go check out that live stream.
Yeah, that was good. It was our first time actually having a guest outside of this. I've tried to get Dalton Don. He's been in a few of my drafts, and he's actually can't join the streams during it. But one of these hopefully before the end of the season, Yahoo legend Dalton will join us.
Love to see Dalton. All right, you got 2 picks coming up this time as we're heading into the end of the 3rd round here. We're live. Michael Govier, Vlad Sedler, FTN live stream of the National Fantasy Football Championships $250,000 overall grand prize online championship. 12-teamer Fab. If you don't like Fab, by the way, I'll mention quickly, they have cut lines, which is a best ball format. So if you don't want to deal with all the extra work that, when you play baseball like I do, it doesn't seem like extra work to set a football lineup once a week. But I understand people out there are busy. So do a cut line if you prefer a best ball format.
Yeah, it's a great contest and very little hassle as far as, you kind of draft your lineup, and it's not quite full best ball, but it's, it's best ball points and it's pretty cool. All right, so this works out pretty well for me. I've got 4 receivers that I'm looking at here. I'm not interested in a quarterback. Pitts isn't there, so I'm not interested in a tight end. Running back, this is just the kind of the dead zone already. Like once ETN and Fournette and Chubb are gone, these guys like Ezekiel Elliott, Breece Hall, not interested in quite yet. So I'm going for receivers, and I get a couple of good ones that I get to snag that I'll be very happy with. I will mention the Rams guy that I spoke about earlier. I'm very heavily exposed in terms of shares over the last couple of weeks. I want to kind of hang back on that. just because of the Stafford elbow stuff. Hopefully that's okay. But I'm going to grab one here, Cortland Sutton.
Ooh.
And then there are 3 others that I would consider here, the Rams guy included. But I'm going to go for the gusto, and he's a cheat game guy. So on Thursday, if he does well, I'm going to leave him in my lineup. If he stinks, and basically under 10 fantasy points, I'm going to leave him out and play another one of my receivers. But this is a rare build for me because I'm usually going heavy running backs, but early. But since I am drafting from the front end, don't necessarily have to do that. I'm going to wait past the dead zone. But I'm going to grab and hope I'm catching lightning in a bottle with Don't Call Me Gabriel, Gabe Davis.
Ooh. Yes, the newly named Gabe Davis of the Buffalo Bills. Is he going to be right there with Diggs competing for the same amount of fantasy points? Do you see a world where that plays out this year?
I mean, anything's possible. I think Diggs is to me still, it's a 1A, 1B situation. I think we might see a situation maybe similar to what I talked about with the Jets, where I think Elijah Moore crushes his teammates in terms of fantasy points, but somebody like Garrett Wilson could lead the receiving room in touchdowns there. That's a very possible case here where maybe Diggs doesn't hit 12 touchdowns and maybe Gabe Davis does, but he'll just have less receptions. I don't think he catches 100 balls. I don't think he necessarily hits 1,300 yards like I think Diggs should do easily. So yeah, Diggs for me first. I think he's a pretty easy first rounder.
Yeah, Davis is he's a red zone favorite. I mean, he's been able to score touchdowns consistently in his first couple of years, 7, 6 touchdowns apiece over those first 2 seasons out of Central Florida. Love watching him at Central Florida. I used to love those Central Florida teams in the late part of last decade. Colin says, Aaron Jones falling to the 2nd in Silver Bullet last night, and the OC from tonight. Such a steal late.
I'm seeing that a lot lately. I ended up with an Aaron Jones share, basically drafting out of the 3 hole. So he then fell to 22 overall, and just click that button. I feel like he's somebody that's been disrespected for many years. There was just always where, he was returning first round value, yet still going in the late 2nd, and just been kind of pounding him. These stakes have changed a little bit, of course, with AJ Dillon, a very promising, not even promising. We saw what he could do last season. That's kind of changes things there. But I do see a lot of receptions for Aaron Jones. I think that Rodgers is going to try to make Lazard a thing. But Lazard has some separation issues. I don't think most people know he's not a pure wide receiver 1. So you'll see a lot of those kind of that automatic connection, those sneaky plays that him and Adams have drew up, where it was just automatic touchdowns. I think you'll see some of those go to Aaron Jones. I think you'll see some. I think you'll see 5+ receiving touchdowns from Aaron Jones.
Alex P. Keaton from Family Ties is here. So great that you could join us, Alex. Thank you very much for being here. Loved your show, by the way. Remember that special episode with Tom Hanks as the drunk uncle? That was very. It was on a very special Family Ties.
Yeah, man, it's a phenomenal cast, and Alex, we appreciate your commentary and all your work, and also and your work in Back to the Future, one of the greatest trilogies of all time. So,
okay, yeah, that's hard to argue. I'm not going to sit here and argue that point now. We don't have time for that.
Well, it's because I think the 3rd episode kind of hurts the legacy a little bit. But Back to the Future 2 was, obviously 1 is a classic, but 2, man, I loved it. I love that.
I thought 2 was just as good as 1. That's the rare situation, kind of like Godfather 2 or T2. There's a rare exception when number 2 is just as good. I'm going to ride with that. I'm with you there. You said you'd be drafting earlier in the live stream. I don't know who James is. Do I? You guys got your own side commentary going on here. And feel free to drop questions and further comments about what you see on the draft board. Vlad's gone with 1 running back and then 3 straight wide receivers. He's got the number 1 pick here. And we are moving towards the end of round 4. Oh, look who's back, Vlad. That's our old pal, Roger Wells. Remember him from last week?
Oh, yeah. Hey, Roger. Thanks.
Everyone's
talking about Aaron Jones today. Why is there a 2-3 round difference between them? AJ Dillon's not going to catch these 50+ passes that they're talking about. It might get some more goal line work. I personally listen. There's a good point Alex P. Keaton made that maybe Aaron Jones is worthy and will end up being like a 3rd rounder. But I think you will see a couple round difference between them come the end of the season. It's the receptions. We're talking PPR here.
Half point PPR. That's right.
Yeah, they'll be at least a 25 30 catch difference between the two. Dillon isn't. I don't think he's going to catch as many passes as a lot of people think.
That was something I was definitely looking at preseason. I thought one of the interesting storylines, first off, is just Green Bay in general. What they got now, who's going to step up for them offensively outside of Rodgers. We know Aaron Jones is. The receivers have been completely overhauled. It's a new era, basically, with MVS hitting the road. And you got the rookie that might get drafted on this board sooner than later, what we'll talk about whenever he goes off. But Dillon as a receiver, that's clearly the missing link. That would be the key to him being as valuable or as close to valuable as Jones. I think it's there. He's caught balls, and he caught more last year. He had 37 targets.
Yeah.
Not bad.
Yeah. I mean, 37, that's like, that's what, like Derrick Henry, Cam Akers, Damian Harris type range. So obviously you'll see a bump there. You could see 50, 60 targets or whatever, could catch 25, 30 balls, but I don't think they're going to use him in the same way they'll use Jones with 60 plus. But let's talk about someone else. There's all kinds of interesting
builds. There's 31 other teams out there? Yeah, you're right.
We've got some interesting builds here especially on the right side. I think everybody knows I love building at the end of drafts, like getting the 10, 11, or 12 pick. And you've got 3 completely different builds. Team 11 has the old, the QB1, TE1 thing that I actually did in one of my prime times. And then you kind of just feel uncomfortable afterwards with the receivers. But it looks like he's done a good job there with Judy and Michael Thomas. If Michael Thomas's hamstring's okay and he's healthy. But that 12 team, man, I like that start. Obviously, you're not getting primo receivers on 500 average plus teams, like on winning teams. Metcalf and Mooney play on teams that aren't necessarily good offenses. But man, you've got your RB1, RB2, and your flex, your locked-in flex can get you 20 points a game. We're talking about Fournette there on Team 12. That's a really good build, I think.
Yeah, I'm also curious to see where the probably number 1 back in Houston will go here. I won't mention his name just yet, but you probably know what I'm talking about. Houston Texans RB1. And he's been climbing the draft ranks lately, especially we talked about Mac being let go. I'm curious to see where he'll land in this draft board. I looked at it the other day when I did this with Nelson, which was literally yesterday. And we were kind of surprised where he went. So we'll see how this plays out. But there's always players I'm looking for, and I want to see the change. Because as we talk about, Vlad, every day, news breaks, injuries happen, certainties that were so clear-cut with positions can change very quickly.
Yep, I'm throwing some players into my queue right now, and we'll see coming up here. Could be a couple of bargains. There was one I was hoping. There was a very little chance that he was going to get there, but had Rashad Bateman fallen my way, I would have taken another receiver. But now my board is kind of open. I think we've got options at all spots today, right now.
Justin Herbert, the second quarterback taken in this draft board. That slightly unusual. I mean, not for ADP so much, but usually it's not him, number 2 in terms of QBs off the board.
It is. It is. He's.
Is it really? Because I look at the ADP. I guess let me look at the min-max. Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah. He's number 2. I mean, it's a wide range, and obviously different drafts you'll sometimes see Mahomes go there before him, but yeah, that's about standard fare here with Herbert going. Did he pair him with anyone on? No, he does not have Allen or Michael Williams.
30 min for Herbert since Monday, 66 max. So definitely fits in the scheme. I've done a lot of these now. I'm getting real comfortable, and I got a real sense of the board. That's not unusual, but I always wished that when I did my draft last week that I had waited a little bit longer on a QB. That was my big regret. Not the Gibson thing so much, or he, unfortunately, there was a situation in Washington. Prayers up to Mr. Robinson. Hope he gets healthy real soon. He's back on the field. But the quarterback situation, and you taught me this. I learned this from Vlad, guys. You be patient. Play a little bit of that. What do you like to call it? Playing chicken with the quarterback?
QB chicken, yeah.
Fun.
I learned it from watching you. I actually do that with my son. He wants me to replicate that. My 3-year-old son says, "Dad, do it." It's pretty funny.
If you don't know, you don't know.
If you don't know, you don't know. But it's an old Dare commercial, I believe, right?
That's right. Yeah. Oh, man. Dare really paid off.
Dylan coming off the board.
All
Yeah,
right, so-
the thing about the thing about QB chicken is it works both ways. Sometimes you get caught. So that's what happened in my silver bullet the other day. I usually have a top 10 quarterback, and it was a case where they just started going hot and heavy. I was picking 11th, and then I ended up just waiting, and I got a deal on Tom Brady, who I'm not 100% in on. I don't really have many shares, so I ended up getting him, I think, like 120-ish overall, like 10th round. So that was good, and then I ended up getting Trevor Lawrence to back him up later. So it's not quite my comfort zone with quarterbacks, but I was okay with it. But as it goes, it works both ways.
It does. It's the pros and cons of life, folks. You win some, you lose some. And we're going to see Vlad hopefully win 2 right here as he's about to pick. You guys have any questions, comments? Drop them in the live stream. We'll answer your questions and commentary as it comes in.
I do want to kind of get some different players because I have very now that I do have a lot of AJ Brown, as I mentioned. I got a lot of Saquon Barkley, but I do want to get exposure on some players, but I don't want to go too off the cuff. I don't want to grab players that I'm not particularly interested in or crazy about. So let's see here.
The old twofer, here we go. Can't wait to see what this is. 3 straight wide receivers for Vlad, so will he go in a different direction positionally or not? I feel like maybe, but maybe not. Also, Team 5 straight wideouts to start this draft. That's interesting. I find that curious.
How much time I have?
22 seconds, Vlad Sedler. 22 seconds left.
Oh, 22.
Your first pick of 2. You're fine.
Well, I'll just
you got
take
time.
the guy that I'm pretty sure that I like and I'm taking here. So I haven't had a Lamar in about a month, and it's a kind of
you're due then.
Kind of weird with Mahomes still on the board, so it doesn't feel all that great. I might do something out of character because I'm kind of rooting against him. But I'm wondering if I pull the trigger on this guy, and this will be my one team, just to have a share, just to say, just that I have, no FOMO.
Oh, please, no FOMO. Got to avoid that FOMO at all costs.
Yeah. You know what I'm talking about.
Oh, bye! Look,
23 seconds.
by the way, folks, remember that Vlad drafts a fair amount too, so the context of this draft board is always important to know. 12 seconds for Vlad Sedler, the Roto Guide. He's got 10 seconds.
All right.
There it is. I feel like you and Nelson have been talking because that's exactly who Nelson took just yesterday, and that's not a guy I've seen Nelson take a ton of, so maybe both of you are just trying to go in a bit of a different direction to diversify a tad, or
I think
is there something else here?
We haven't talked about Christian Kirk per se. I'm not. I don't think I'm as fond of him as he is, but I think this is when you're drafting at the ends, you kind of got to make decisive decisions, I guess you could say. I do like Jacksonville offense a lot. I think he's if Travis Etienne and him are going to be catching a lot of passes. He's just one of those like really solid, safe guys. I don't think he's going to like blow the roof off. But I had a tough decision there. I was considering Mr. You-know-who from Houston, but I just couldn't do it, man. It's just not on brand for me. Like I'm not going to pay market price. You know what I mean? I'm not going to, I like to get sales on things.
He's the bargain bin master. That's right. He loves going to Walmart and getting those dollar DVDs. That's Vlad all the way, man. Not because he's cheap, just because he loves a good deal. There's some good movies in that bin.
You know what we had in California? I'm sure everybody had around the world, but when I was a kid growing up, we had this, the record store called The Warehouse, and they started having used CD bins. So people didn't like CDs, they would go return them, and then you get them for like a fraction of the cost. And so that was like the place to hang out. Just go and like, I would have a big CD collection, so would pick up my like. Somebody, oh my God, somebody returned a Tupac or a Biggie. What's wrong with them? Somebody returned, Nirvana, Nevermind. What's wrong with you? So, you'd scoop up those CDs for cheap and just pop them in your Discman and just rock it,
Rock it with Dockin', that's right. We are in what they usually call round number 6 here. Vlad just took Lamar Jackson and Christian Kirk. He's got 4 wideouts, a quarterback, and a running back so far. And Team 5 has got to break the streak. They've taken 5 straight wideouts. I believe the streak will end this round. They've taken Jamar Chase, Tyreek Hill, T. Higgins, Marquise Brown, and Elijah Moore.
That's a lot, yeah. That's pretty heavy. Ooh. Oh, Waller. Yeah, so I was going to say Waller, I don't have any yet, and I do have him a little bit lower in my rankings. By the way, PPR rankings are up over at FTN Fantasy. I update those weekly, and so I updated them yesterday, and moved Waller a little bit up. Looks like he's just about to sign the biggest contract for a tight end history. Obviously, Devontae Adams is going to be the primary there. They got Hunter Renfrow. They got just new offense installed there with McDaniels. So Waller is fine. I did consider him, but I was just kind of afraid of giving up a fourth receiver. I wanted to have a nice, strong fourth receiver, just somebody safe. And so that's what I'm doing, because I do feel like, Brown, Sutton, and Davis is a nice trio for upside. But there's also some concern with floor. So, So I felt like Kirk was a nice little balance there.
There he goes. Dameon Pierce is off the board in round 6 for Team 6, apropos. So, that's exactly, I believe, I'll have to double check, but I believe he went in round 6 of yesterday's draft when Nelson and I did this. So it looks to be he's settling in there. Basically, his ADP the last few days would suggest that is correct. As Chris Farley says in Billy Madison, that is correct.
That is correct.
60 ADP, 47 min, 92 max for Pierce. That's since Monday in online championships only, to be clear.
And we do have a team in this group that is it's a pair of brothers who they won in 2020. And correct me if I'm wrong, and if one of them are in the draft board or in the draft chat want to correct me, they either won the OC overall or they won the prime time. So they won basically 6 figures a couple seasons ago. The Stephon Diggs year, or Stephon Diggs year. So those guys are in the draft. I won't say who they are, but they're drafting somewhere in the middle there. If they want to reveal themselves, please go ahead.
Who are you? I need to know who you are. I'd love to find out. Congratulations. 6 figures ain't no slouch. Nate says camp reports are that T-Law and Kirk are gelling. Kirk needs to be able to beat man coverage. If so, I'm excited.
Yep. And I'm looking at, let's see, kicking things off with at Washington, Indy, the Chargers, and Philly. That is a tough group defensively. So
it's true.
That's a different 3 of those games on the road. So it's a bit of a tough start for Trevor Lawrence and the crew. I can see a lot of fantasy points for Trevor ETN early on.
Yeah.
Racking up a
well,
lot
you
of
could
catches.
hope maybe too they get down and maybe they got to throw their way out of it. Who knows? That's possible. Larry says, how many drafts have you guys seen McCaffrey going number 1 over JT?
Any draft Nelson and I are in for the most part, I would say for sure. They have similar ADPs. I think I've talked about it before. If I'm in my home league and I have the number 1 pick in a redraft, I feel like because there isn't that overall component, I want the safer floor and the, like what I feel is more health and younger and everything with a Jonathan Taylor. But in an overall competition like this, where I want to beat 5,000 other teams, like I want to win my league, but I'm mostly interested in shooting for the $250,000 prize. I want somebody of McCaffrey's ceiling because I think he's more likely to be able to average 30 fantasy points, PPR points per game than what's his name, Jonathan Taylor.
What is his name? I mean, it's hard to remember. He's not very memorable. What a season Jonathan Taylor had last year. Epic run. Love watching him play. I love to watch him in Wisconsin. I'm a Big Ten guy. I went to Michigan. He definitely ripped our hearts out a few times.
So notice how the draft slowed down, right? Like the first 3 rounds just cruised by. Now it's a little slow. And then it's very interesting. You do not see this often. Dak Prescott very early in maybe the first draft ever that he's gone ahead of Patrick Mahomes. Just not something you see. So
yeah, probably right about that. Wow.
So that person probably has some sort of either strong connection or feeling or just something, because it's a tough spot to pass up on. Listen, dude, don't get me wrong. Prescott is phenomenal. He was my bet for MVP last season. and it was
Ooh.
fantastic odds. I was hoping for an amazing season out of him. We got it. Whatever, he was averaging 27 fantasy points per game.
Didn't run enough.
Didn't scored, I think maybe like 3 on the ground, something like that, maybe more. But yeah, I'm really worried about that receiver room at the moment. Like the fact that CeeDee Lamb was a little banged up. You got Michael Gallup, who may not, even though he made the roster and he's not going on PUP. That bodes well, but either he's not going to be active week 1 or they're going to bring him along slowly. And then you've got Jalen Tolbert just kind of slowly getting in the mix. He's a rookie with no experience, so it might take a little bit of time for Dallas to kind of gel, get things together. Tony Pollard may play a big part early on.
Ooh. It's funny that this happened because on yesterday's stream with Nelson, which you guys can watch anytime at FTN YouTube, we talked about Dak and what we expected from him. Because I thought, he really, as you said, he was your MVP pick last year, one of your picks with great odds. Mm-hmm. He has that capability. So I was telling Nelson, why is it that Dak doesn't go a little bit higher? And he was just saying simply because he lacked the running stats last year after the major injury he had in 2020, only played 5 games, missed the rest of the year. He just didn't run like he did the first 3 years he was in the league. His first 3 seasons, he had 6 rushing touchdowns each season. Mm-hmm. That's impressive.
Yep.
But without that, this pick, I don't know. I mean, you would need that type of running production for this pick here, taking Prescott earlier than ADP, which is 100. ADP is 100 since Monday, the last couple of days, with a min max of 78 to 148. So.
Yeah, and these guys are pounding the little running back trio here going. I think it's probably no secret to anyone that follows me in my drafts. I'm heavily invested in Chase Edmonds this season. My basically tied for my most rostered player. I thought there was so I would have set the min on him had I taken him in the last round. I just didn't want to force it and thought I'd just give it a shot. Like if he's there at 84, then it's meant to be, and I'll take him. But other than that, it's just going to be a situation where I'm just going to have one team. So you can't have Edmonds on every team.
No. Alex Keaton's having some fun here. Team 7 probably believes ADP is created by the Illuminati hashtag. ADP is socialism. Wow. Okay.
It's deep. A little deep for me at this hour.
Yeah,
but,
I mean, for
that's
me.
Alex Keaton for you, right? He was deep. He was a deep character.
He was a deep character. That Dallas O-line has me a little scared with Tyron Smith out, says Nate Markham. Good to see you, Nate. Nate's my man. Nate's a great guy, by the way. Just want to say that on the record. Yep. And that's clearly part of it.
And off the record.
Oh, I would. Yeah, I would say it in a secret dive bar with 5 people. I'd say it here on a stream in front of 100,000 people. It doesn't matter to me. Nate's the man. But without Tyron Smith, it's certainly a problem. It hurts their value on offense because you don't have your guy, your left tackle, your stalwart. So that's going to be an impact. And on the total this season for Dallas, too, for wins.
And we pulled up some splits using our FTN data. The FTN data splits tool to look, and of course it was quite clear since 2019 Ezekiel Elliott does score some more, a few more fantasy points and catches, basically scores more points. It's just better fantasy wise when Tyron Smith is in. It's not as big of a split as I thought it might be. There were quite a few games that he had missed where Zeke still ran, for 5+ per carry and 100+ yards and scored a couple touchdowns. So he did have those games. So it'll definitely make a difference, I think.
And you're on the clock, Vlad. You got back-to-back picks here for round 7 and 8.
All right. So I know where I'm going with one of them. Kind of a no-brainer for me. That's going to be the big man out of New England, Armandra Stevenson. So grabbing him as my 2. I've been usually getting him as my 3, but obviously this is a different type of build. I grabbed the quarterback earlier than usual. Got my 4 wideouts. So Ramondre is 1. I'm going to think about the other.
Also, another guy Nelson drafted last night, Armandra Stevenson. I'm not kidding. I think it was in round 7 or 8 at the latest. Yeah,
some people just I don't know. A lot of the, not to say I'm one of these sharps like these guys, but
sure you are. Come on now.
But Ramondre just has that feel of a monster, and especially Damian Harris is a little banged up, doesn't really catch passes. Hold on, let me keep going. I'm gonna
focus in. You are on the clock, my friend. And yes, he's modest, but Rotogut. Anybody who knows Rotogut, Vlad Sedler, he's the man, and not just the man, but a really, really talented and productive fantasy player. So
stop.
It's true.
So So I got my quarterback. Don't need a tight end. I'm not going to jump at a tight end, though. I like a couple of guys here, and I don't have Hurts for a stack. Receiver. I'm gonna get my first share of this guy and just pray.
Ooh,
My first one.
CEH.
Yeah, you have those guys, Ramondre and him as the two. Yeah, just kind of. It feels like a good spot for him for my first share of CEH. Now I'm neutral to him. I guess you could put it like that because he came out his rookie season. He was what? I mean, those NFFC drafts, he was going 4th, 5th overall. It was pretty crazy, and then fell to was like a second-ish round pick the following season. You got some boys there. You got obviously Pacheco, Jerick McKinnon, maybe Rojo Mixon since he wasn't cut. But it does seem pretty clear that CH is going to be at least the 1A. So might as well get some exposure.
And follow up on that here. Going back to what you were talking about with Edmonds and timeshares and opportunities. You mentioned that Edmonds was tied for your most shares. Who's he tied with, Vlad? Can you reveal that?
Saquon Barkley. I just have a lot of picks, picking 10, 11, 12, and I got some first-round Barkley. I got some second-round Barkley. So it would be him. And then two guys I'll mention later just because they haven't been drafted. One is a defense, and the other is another position player. But I'll mention them later just for the sake of the draft, people that might be watching, and so they don't snake me in case I want them again.
In the auction I did tonight, I absolutely secured Saquon Barkley, and it was great. Nice. And I actually spent my highest price point on him. I think it was $43 out of a $200 budget, standard issue.
Yeah, crushing it. It's beautiful. And let me guess, somebody spent 65 plus on JT and McCaffrey, or no? Not that.
It never got there. There's a lot of people that you would know, like DVR and Erickson. Okay. A lot of people you know. I'm surprised you're actually not in this league because there's a lot of people that are friends of yours. But
what is it?
It's the pentathlon. You heard of this one?
Oh, yes. I was in the inaugural year. DVR, okay. Derek Van Riper, one of my oldest friends in the industry, and obviously everybody knows best voice in fantasy radio.
No doubt
you're
about
creeping,
it.
buddy. You're creeping. We're not going to. Hopefully,
I will happily be the most energetic. DVR can take the voice. He is the voice. It's beautiful.
Yeah. So yeah, the pentathlon, by the way, is cool. I don't know if you want to kind of tell people about it, but there's like 5 parts to it that involves DFS, best ball. What else? Redraft. Holy auction.
Cow. I got to tell you, you want to know the truth on this? I got hit up yesterday to draft this team for a guy who's in there. His name's Mark. And he's like, hey, can you draft this team for me? I don't have the time and I can't make it. I'm okay.
Is that Kiefer?
Yeah, that's Kiefer. Yep.
Kiefer. Always. Hey, I love you, man. If you're watching, always bites on more than he can chew. Yeah, he's in the. Yeah, that's funny. So he's in that, and he couldn't make it for one of the. Yeah, he's got like a big family and busy at work. So I get it. That happens.
I was honored when someone picks you, taps you to draft, and that's a tough draft room. I mentioned Jenny Butler's in there. I mean, it's heavy people who know what they're doing there. So I was just honored to be a part of it, and I hope it goes well. And I got Barkley, I got Dalvin Cook, I got DeAndre Swift, and I went heavy on the running backs there, but still got them at good price points. So I'm not worried about it.
I hope you made a good deal. I hope you leveraged a good split since you saved his ass drafting, auctioning his team for him. So you better get paid.
Terms are negotiated. Yes, I'll be okay. But we're doing this draft, so let's get back to here.
Yeah, it's for charity though too, right? So it's not even a big. But I'm sure there's some money involved. But it's a charity. It's for charity, I believe. You don't even. I'm sorry, I'm asking the wrong person. But it is. It's a big.
I'm a gun for hire here. It's hilarious. Yeah. Like okay, what do I got to do? Who's in there? And I got my sheets and I was ready to rock. But other than that, I really still don't know the details of the overall league. But it was always fun to do an auction. I love doing auctions. It's always a good time.
Yeah, I know we'll get back to draft board in a second, but my on Labor Day every year is my home league, and we've been doing it this will be actually the 20th year. A lot of the originals have dropped out. It's like old college friends, people that weren't really into fantasy, or were like, hey, why is this auction so long? But it's really transformed over the years from just like a standard redraft to now it's a super flex auction. So it's really cool. Keep a reasonable $150 entry. And I got a lot of industry guys. A couple of our FTN mates. Matthew Davis is in it. Kenneth Lee is in it.
Matty was in tonight's.
What's that?
Matty was in tonight's pentathlon, of course.
Yeah, and he was in. Yeah, he's pentathlon. Yeah, lots of good peeps in that one. So it's a nice little fun little home league. Scott Genstad I convinced to be in it a few years ago. Russ
That's
Prentice, who's our big hockey guy for many years, former FSWA winner. So we're doing that on Monday night. That'll be my first auction of the year.
Yeah. And you get to watch Clemson destroy Georgia Tech on Monday night. What a fun Labor Day game that will be.
What time is that?
I think it's the nighttime game, like Monday night, 8 p.m., I believe.
Excellent. You got to help me get a little bit more into college because I'm so locked in like finishing baseball and then football. So yeah, I'm gonna watch more college and watch some of your Prize Pick videos because I know you've been hitting MLB. I guess some like Jake Kuchek from our company has been crushing the Prize Picks for the college team. So that's cool.
Week 0 last weekend, big time money was made. Jake killed it in that respect. And I do a Prize Picks video with Stuart Durst, who's really, really good. So there's going to be a lot of college talk. Whenever you hear me or see me, I put a ton of my futures in on our FTN bets tracker. I'm excited about a lot of those college future bets. But the next step now is NFL. It's time to lock in all of my NFL plays, and I can't wait. I just get so much excitement. There's so much to pick. There's so much to do. There's so much to talk about. We should do the show all night long. We should just stay up until sundown.
I mean, I could
tomorrow night.
I don't know about sundown, man. I gotta be up early. But question for you: what running back stood out to you that ended up being drafted this season that you watched in college last season? Who when you were watching them in college, you were like, all right, this guy, if he gets in the right team context, is going to be a dynamite fantasy pick right away as a rookie.
Ooh, that is an outstanding question.
Damian Pierce, Breece Hall, Pacheco, all those guys. I
always loved Hall. I don't actually like Hall where he's going and how he's been drafted this season because I think that his backfield mate is still very talented. In fact, that was a guy I loved watching at North Carolina a couple years ago. So to me, Hall was on a team that underperformed, but he was still the highlight of that Iowa State team last year. It's such a disappointment because I really thought Iowa State would make a playoff push, and they didn't. But watching Breece Hall do his thing, I think it's pretty fair to say that he was my guy. But I'll also say, and this is not biased, I don't think it's biased, Hassan Haskins, who is in Tennessee's backfield area, backing up the master Derrick Henry. He is a power back. He fits the mold. If anything happens for some reason to Derrick Henry, which, anything's possible. We've seen it before. I really like watching him run. He's a straight-ahead runner. It's exactly what Tennessee likes to do, and I really think he fits well in their system. It's a sneaky player for a guy that isn't flashy, but very reliable and consistent.
Nice. That's good to know. So I'm looking, because I'm coming up here. We're, what's some weird activity here going on? You've got definitely interesting to see Dak Prescott, who usually goes after Russell Wilson. He goes 3 rounds after Wilson. You've got the dip on Miles Sanders, who's still almost 2 weeks of not practicing, dealing with a hamstring injury. One of my favorite guys a month ago. Now I'm starting to get a little bit concerned about him. And then the hype train there. You got the 2 Pittsburgh guys there. George Pickens just moved up basically 50, 60 spots, like 4 or 5 rounds just over the last month, just pretty much with a good camp. And he's sitting right there with Chase Claypool. So that'll be interesting to track during the season.
Yes, you will. I'll tell you what. Pittsburgh has the magic formula. I know that Kevin Colbert is no longer the GM. He moved on as of post-draft season. But he had the magic touch. He knows how to pick wide receivers. He's been doing it for years. It always seems like Pittsburgh has... they had Ben, and when he was good, Ben was one of the best, no doubt. But they always had a guy that could fill in there. Antonio Brown was a 6th-round pick. He was not really highly respected coming out of Central Michigan. And look what he became.
Mm-hmm. Yep. It's the truth. So
there goes the other rookie, by the way. Burke's off the board.
Yeah, I'm fine buying the dip on him. I wish it would be a little bit more. I wish he was going like in the 10th round and around 120 overall, but sometimes just got to buy in on that and hope that the cream rises to the top and the talent pops out, as could possibly be the case with Treylon Burke. So probably somebody I would have considered at this turn over here.
Yeah, I took him in my first Devy draft I did over the summer, which is a lot of fun. You get to keep rookies that matter, and also you get to have players that are still in college that you can add to your Devy squad. So to me, Burks was a great choice, and in that type of format, Dynasty especially, Burks is going to be a keeper for sure. I'm very, very confident in that, especially if you have rookie keepers in any of your leagues. Burks is a guy you want to target.
Yep, I still do have, and this has just happened recently, Robert Woods a little ahead of him. I had been drafting a little bit of Woods over the last week or so. I think I ended up with him in both prime times, just kind of the spot where he was at. I was interested. I was having a little Woods fever. and just a nice safe floor guy. If he's healthy, I just foresee a lot of targets for him and in a really good spot, good connection with Tannehill.
Woods Fever. As Vlad is on the clock now, we are back over his way in round 9/10. Back-to-back picks, Vlad. Think about it. Take your time. I know what this feels like. I know what Vlad's feeling right now. I was there a week ago, and it's more intense than you might realize when you're drafting live. It is intense, but Vlad's a pro. He's a veteran.
Yeah, there's a lot of good options for me here. Probably going to go with a little bit of upside here and see what we get out of the kid Sky Moore.
Oh.
Don't have a lot of exposure to him. Usually he's going in the 90s. So usually earlier in the 9th or sometimes the 8th. So I've got 5 wideouts at this point. It's a good spot. Got my QB. I think I'm not going to press on the tight end here.
I was just thinking that. You're going to hold?
Yeah, I feel like if I had a Josh Allen and I already have Gabe Davis, then I might be looking at their tight end, but I'm going to pass here. There's enough guys that I like later that I can just stream it. Usually pretty decent at streaming. So I'm between a 4th running back and a 6th wide receiver. A lot of receivers I like here. And I know it's going to dry out real quick. But I'm going to get some hen dog.
Uh-oh.
Makes me feel more comfortable about my running backs. Although most likely, CH and Armandra can handle it. The problem with something like this is when you don't take the early running backs and you don't have your like solidified 2, you can get into mistiming them in your roster. Like you might be chasing last week's stats. Like the previous week, CH had a bad game, so you bench him, but then he has a good matchup and then he smashes. So you got to kind of be able to put some of that recency bias to the side, look as far as usage, targets, snaps, things like that, and then the upcoming matchup and how game script might flow and things like that when making your lineup decisions. I feel like a lot of people, even with like Fab, right, and waivers, like you're invested in a guy, you draft a bunch of him, and then he does nothing week 1, and then you drop him. Like, yeah, veterans, veteran fantasy players usually don't do that. If you spent your time studying them, investing in them, you're not going to overreact and just let somebody go, out into the, into waivers just because things didn't work out for them in that first week.
Hulk smash. Yeah. Daryl Henderson. What a shocker, folks. Nelson picked him yesterday in our live stream.
I swear we're not talking about players.
I know they're not. That's crazy. They're both at FTN. They both play high stakes. They're both pros. They do a fair amount of high volume. I mean, Nelson's out of this world, but you played a bunch of leagues. So you just have similarities about you, but that means that it can't be coincidence. If they're not talking, folks, there's probably something going on there that you should pay attention to as well, based on, of course, on your league format and context. Is it a 12-team league? Is it snake? Is it auction? All these things matter, but I don't think it's a coincidence because these guys know what they're doing.
And for the record, I mean, there are another couple of running backs there. Actually, just one that I would have sincerely considered, and maybe I've been in that spot where usually it's around. So this was taken 108. Usually I'm at the other end of the draft. I'm rarely drafting early in the draft, so usually I'm at around 120, 121, and that's usually where I'm grabbing Henderson. But I kind of have to make my decision there, hoping that a couple of these receivers that I'm looking at could fall to the next turn, and just one of those things, right? If you caught me 5 minutes later, I may have gone receiver, right? I have my player pool that I like, these guys that I'm working with, and I'm thinking about roster construction in the future. I'm looking at the other builds out there and trying to figure out what could fall to me.
It's not just, hey, who do I pick next? You got to be looking ahead. You got to be organized, cheat sheets, everything, all of this stuff. The most seasoned pro around. Vlad, you use stuff that you have in front of you, right? You just don't show up and draft. You have all of your prep material with you, I assume.
Yeah, but at this point, like I just do it. I don't even know why I do it. I have this little chart that I put in. I put in all my picks, but the 20 rounds, and I sort of map it out at each position. Like, these are the running backs, receivers I would take at each like sort of batch of picks. Mm-hmm. And I have that, but at this point, I'm just drafting so much. I kind of already know who I like. I know where players go. But this draft is throwing me for a loop with that early Dak pick. You got now Kenny Golladay, who, I've obviously been. So this is a thing, okay? This is something I want to talk about. Somebody like Kenny Golladay, who Twitter hates, everyone hate, the Giants hate him, might actually be cut. Dude's been really lazy. And in the past, I've been kind of forgiving for some of these players where I don't take as much of that information to stock and to heart. And I'm still being stubborn. I'm like, oh, Galladay's so talented. Remember what he did 2 years ago. And I'm still drafting him. But I'm kind of changing that up a little bit, trying not to be so stubborn and not be connected to these players, right? So Galladay is an example. Like, I mean, he's not even trying out there. He's not a fit. Dable doesn't like him. Like, something there just isn't right with him. He's like, some diva. I have no idea what's going on, but he's truly dogging it. And so he's gone from like, this is where his range used to be. He would go in like 120, 135 overall. Now he's going like 170s. Like, he's almost like an afterthought. So yes, I might draft a Kenny Galladay if it's my 7th receiver. Yeah, that's fine. But that's not somebody I'm targeting anymore. Trying to be less stubborn, if that makes sense.
Makes total sense. And it's about the groupthink that happens with Twitter. And, we're all on there. Me and Vlad, we use Twitter, so it's not like we're above anyone here. It's just important that you slow your roll, pump the brakes, as they say, and make sure that you're making the decisions you want to make because you've done your homework on them, you've talked to people you respect, and you're not just getting caught up. It's like, it's like doing those live drafts. When we did the main event earlier this year for baseball, and you always hear, hey, you got like 7 drafts going on at once in a huge hall here at the Bellagio, and you'll hear other picks or other drafts, and you don't want to be influenced by that. It's important that you tune that stuff out.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah, and I just see. Sorry, was just noticing that somebody coming up in this range is dinged up a little bit. So I'm wondering if that's going to affect his price. Not going to mention who it is quite yet, but we'll see. But regarding Galladay, someone did just take him basically what is now 40 picks above his ADP. So that's interesting. So you wonder, is that somebody that really loves him? Are they not following the news? Or, I'm not sure.
Yeah, that is so interesting. I agree with you because I know Galladay. I'm in Detroit here, folks. We saw him. We drafted him. He was exciting as a draftee because he was a value pick. But then who he is now, it's a lot of hits, a lot of big moments, but not enough consistency, unfortunately.
Yeah, this draft is wild, man. You got now you got Wan'Dale Robinson. I guess, what is he like if Tony's not, Tony's healthy, Kadarius Toney, and he's back at practice. But man, if he gets dinged up a little bit, they don't like Galladay. What does Wan'Dale Robinson just become the one? Sterling Shepard isn't 100% either. He's still coming back slowly.
Wan'Dale 146 ADP since Monday. Galladay 156, just to give you guys some context of how the ADP has been rolling out over the last few days. Also, Team 10, still no quarterback as we're here 11 picks through. And that's cool. It's just, I always like to look at the board to see who's doing what and what stands out. We also, in the opposite way, Team 11 takes Josh Allen in round 3, then takes Tom Brady in round 8. Now, I just know this is something that you wouldn't do personally, Vlad. I'm not saying it's wrong, but that's just not your philosophy.
Yeah, that's tough. That's tough for me to do. If I'm taking an early quarterback, I'm pretty much not going to take anyone as my second until the Matt Ryan, those type of guys that you can get basically in like the 18th round. So I'm pretty much invested in my number one guy. It's almost, it's not the best use of draft capital there in the 8th round where you could be bolstering your running backs or your receivers. Instead, you're getting somebody that's essentially going to sit on your bench. Because either way, if your 3rd round pick quarterback is out for the year, that team is, I don't want to say done, but it's not in a very good spot.
Yep. Jay says, as a Giants fan, I really tried to embrace the Galladay signing, even though I wasn't excited by him. He's done nothing to earn any confidence. Yeah, you probably speak for a lot of Giants fans, Jay, I'm sure. All the Galladay hate, according to Larry, has moved Tony up real high.
Yes. Tony's been, the thing is his preseason injury has cost him ADP. He would have soared kind of like we've seen Brandon Ayuk do over the last couple of weeks. Ayuk was kind of being picked in the 80s. Now, sometimes you see him in the 60s for the most part. In fact, when I took Christian Kirk, I strongly considered Ayuk as well there. I would have been close to setting a min pick. But for me, I still, I was considering it and it could have been worth it to me.
And Vlad is about to be on the clock after this pick from Team 2. It's round 11 and 12 here. So we're going to be on the air for about another 10 minutes or so before we wrap this up, right? Maybe we'll get back to...
What are we...
Yeah, we're about
Yeah,
50 minutes in.
we can get to a few rounds. We can go 10 minutes after.
Okay.
If you're good with it. You're the East Coaster, my friend.
That's right. Well, I just love drafts. What can I tell you? People, I'm a draft freak. Vlad is on the clock. Round 11.
See, so I have 4 running backs. Don't need to push it. Well,
5
one is
wideouts.
easy. I guess, kind of having 2 starters in my lineup from the same team. I mean, it's not a bad team to have that, but to grab Dawson Knox here in the end of the 11th feels good. I'll take it.
Starting tight end.
Have some spike games there. And then, so we got 5 receivers.
Got to feel you're going yellow here. That's my feel.
Yeah, I'm passing up my boy to do it, and I'll mention who that is later. But oh man, there are actually a couple of wideouts here I'm interested in. I'm gonna go with the youth. I'm gonna go with the rookie. I like this kid very much.
The Ohio State University. That's right. It's the. I know that very well because they kicked Michigan's ass nonstop for 20 years. But not last year. We finally got you, son of a guns. We got you. So we're 1-20?
Yeah, that's funny.
Oh, guys. I grew up in the 90s. Michigan owned Ohio State. It was such a glorious time. Michigan won a national championship in 97. And then the 2000s hit. Jim Tressel showed up. Terrell Pryor, Troy Smith. The list goes on and on and on. Just these total butt kickers of Michigan. It's been a tough stretch lately, but last year, I understand a little bit of what a Red Sox fan felt in 04 or like a Cubs fan felt in 2016 when a team finally wins. I think that's how I feel when the Lions win the Super Bowl this year. That's right, baby. Here they come. Dan Campbell's fired up. He's got F-bombs, and he wants to win.
You guys will have absolutely a better season than last year. It really doesn't get any worse than what was that receiving core for some bit of time? It was like Josh Reynolds and Quintus Cephas, and there was somebody else, I forget. Just kind of, off
afterthoughts.
The street. Yeah, it was pretty bad last year. I remember, just so having a full season out of DeAndre Swift. You got Jamal back there. He'll obviously get mixed in.
Sure.
Jared Goff will have a better season. I think I've documented that I like him a lot better and or a lot more, I think, than the field, and actually think that he could be a borderline top 15 guy. Usually goes like 20, 25. So people forget, right? I mean, he's a former first overall pick and, had those back-to-back 4,000 plus yard seasons. I think he can get back to 30 plus touchdowns here. Very few interceptions as well, if I recall. I'm sorry, I might be confusing with Wentz. Wentz had an inordinately low interception rate last year.
Yeah, fluke of a lifetime. You throw less, you won't throw as many picks. That's how that is. But yeah, Goff's a stat guy who can perform. He's proven it. Of course, he had Sean McVay helping him out. But if Dan Campbell has any sense of what it takes to run an offense properly, then you could be a real fun season. He had 19 touchdowns, 8 picks last year. It's not terrible, but with a healthy guy who I don't see him on the board yet, so I won't mention it, but one of the newcomers in Detroit in the wide receiving core, I really like this year. I'm surprised more people aren't excited about it. I guess the injuries really turned people off, but I would love to see what the former Jacksonville fella in Detroit does this season. I have high expectations of him. I really do. It's one of those prove-it deals, too. It's a 1-year, $10 million deal. So Detroit benefits if he plays well, and he goes off to sign a deal. They're not locked in long-term. It's a really unusually smart play by former Rams front office pro Brad Holmes, who's the GM in Detroit now.
And the guy you're speaking of, he's taken, I believe, because I'm not. He would be pretty high up on my board here, and he's not.
Oh, did he go? Yeah, I was trying to look here. There's so much yellow on this board. So
yeah, I think he is gone. Let's see. Yep. Yeah, he had that amazing. He had that pretty good season there, and everybody was looking. I mean, he came with high draft capital. I mean, he was basically like a 4th round pick that season.
Oh yeah.
Unfortunately, was disappointed, and then last year the injury. But he's in a good spot here. He's still young, 25. Talking about DJ Chark. So he's a big boy. He's good, man. I like Detroit's offense this season.
Chark attack. I'm sure that's been said before.
I'm sure it has.
Oh, yeah, that's not original. Come on, Govier, get some original material.
Oh, Govs.
Nate Markham says, our guy Aiden should help. I'm sure we will discuss. Need some linebackers to step up.
Have you been watching the Hard Knocks?
You know, I actually haven't. I hear all the buzz, and everybody around town's been talking about it. I've only seen clips.
Okay, yeah, I've had a couple on the background while I'm working or drafting, so it's pretty cool, man. It's really gets you pumped up, getting ready for the NFL season here with it.
I haven't always watched the show. I think it's a cool idea. It just felt like you wouldn't get the real access because no team would truly want to show you what's going on. But some of the times when I watched the clips, I watched the Raiders one a couple years back. That was also pretty wild because that was during the Antonio Brown saga, if you recall, when for some reason he didn't want to be there and that all went to hell. So yeah, Hard Knocks is cool. I'm not a regular, but the Lions, they have this rule, right, where a team gets to be on Hard Knocks every so often if they've been bad, but they haven't been on the show in the last 3 to 5 years or something. It's a weird formula they have, but the Lions fit it. So Dan Campbell is appointment viewing. He's hilarious.
Yeah, he's amazing. I was watching the clip from the latest, or I was watching live the latest episode with Craig Reynolds, who obviously had a few blow up games where they needed him, and when Swift was out and he stepped up and was actually a valuable fab ad there for a few weeks. And they were talking about they had the coaching staff in the room, and they had the board up with their cuts and looking at their cuts, and they were talking about Craig Reynolds, and they were essentially like, isn't he exactly what we what we represent, the grit, the grind, like this is exactly the type of guy that we need on the team. So I thought that was pretty cool to see.
Sanu says that Julio pick looks great. If his hammy can hold up, Gage hasn't been practicing. Godwin is iffy. No Gronk.
One of my, I can if you do get a chance, check out the article, my NFC bold predictions. But I do have on there that basically Julio Jones is going to catch at least 8 touchdown receptions for like the third time. I think it's like in 7 years or something like that. His obviously touchdown totals have been low. But just that interest with him potentially being a goal line guy and kind of taking on that Gronk role a little bit, obviously different size there. But we could see it, right? The wide receiver room is a little banged up, right? Evans was dealing with an injury, Mike Evans. Chris Godwin is coming off ACL and should be ready, but still might have the kid gloves on with him. And then Russell Gage is hurt, right? So kind of makes sense, right? Like load up some of those, some plays designed for him early on. So it'll be a lot of Fournette and maybe some Julio Jones early on. So we'll see. I like that pick too.
Now, speaking about the Lions, Jameson Williams just went the pick before that for Team 9.
Zach,
really talented.
Talented. Zach Roto, Zach Waxman, who was on the show as our guest last time you and I streamed this time last week, him and I basically share the same sentiment. And sorry, Matthias, I know, you draft here with us. Hopefully, if you're watching the show, I can't get behind a pick that somebody may end up dropping early on because he's going to be out for at least half the season, right? Or at least for 6 games or whatever.
Yeah.
It's hard to hold somebody for that long, especially when you get into bye weeks and things like that. So we'll see if you hold on to him and he pays off and helps you in the second half, that'll be fantastic. But I don't know if I can draft somebody like that who's just not going to play for a bit.
Yeah, he's on the reserve non-football injury list. So, if you take him in round 18 or 19, I guess that makes more sense to me. But I just feel like around 13, it's too soon. And there's players that can stay on your roster that you could be drafting right now.
Yeah. So, all right. So we're coming up here.
Yeah, let's do these 2 more picks, and then we'll call it a day. What do you say?
Sounds like a plan. So
right.
I got my quarterback. I got my tight end. Comfortable with those guys. You see the way that the build changes with you take the early quarterback, and it's just one of those things where because I'm volume drafting and I haven't had a Lamar Jackson in a while, and I was like, I'm just going to get it here. I would have been fine waiting for a Russell Wilson 3 rounds later. My build would have been completely different. I probably wouldn't have Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Maybe not even Christian Kirk. I could have gone a completely different direction there. But the key there was I didn't have there wasn't a running back that I absolutely loved or had to have. So that's kind of why I made that pick there with Lamar and just getting some exposure there. If it was my lone team, my one team in the NFFC, I don't know if I would have gone a quarterback that early.
That makes sense to me. We're one pick away from Vlad's final 2 picks here. We'll do, it looks like, 13 and 14, and then we're going to get out of here. It's been fun doing the stream, by the way. I love doing these. Don't forget they're all available on our FTN Fantasy channel. And we're still going to do another one with Beat Meanie, right?
Yep.
That's coming up.
Actually, we have the next Meanie is going to be one next week, but we have another special. It's our CO, Kevin Adams. We're doing a Beat Kevin Adams League. He always plays one NFFC a year. He's doing it Monday at 5 p.m. Eastern, so 2 p.m. Pacific. So if you get a chance, we'll start spreading the word out about that. But there will be a Beat Kevin Adams League, and it might be a good one to do because Kevin is so damn busy. He has good odds on himself not doing fab maybe after week 2. So we'll see.
Okay, Beat Kevin. I love it. Can't wait to see it. All right, you got 2 picks here. 35 seconds for pick 1 in round 13.
All right, one is an easy smash because I just need to get my Christian McCaffrey back up. And we hope it's Donta Foreman. At least that's how I hope it is. It'd be really funny if everyone's backing up with Donta Foreman and does end up being Chuba Hubbard. But I do like Foreman. I think he would be the guy that would be the primary if something were to happen to CMC. So I thought that handcuff is very important there. And now I have 2, 3, 4, 5 running backs, 6 wideouts. Probably a good spot for another wideout. I would have taken the discount on Russell Gage there, but he's gone.
You got to gauge the situation. That makes sense.
Yeah, I do. You're absolutely correct. It's nice to see Derek Carr there, but there's no reason for me to take him here when I'm going to be playing Lamar Jackson every week.
10 seconds, Vlad. Pressure is on. 5, 4, 3. Ooh, wow. Yeah?
Yeah, I mean, this is about the range he goes in. It basically means I don't have to draft any more running backs at this point, and I can just concentrate on other positions. I'm kind of that's the issue there is because I was looking at Hamler. That's probably the button I should have clicked on just to get another receiver. Considering I got a couple of
live drafting.
There. That's the live drafting, but I have no Brian Robinson, and that's because I wasn't willing to pay the 100, 105 ADP. And I am an Antonio Gibson guy. I do believe in him. But now at this range, at this discount, and he's got a wide range, actually, since the incident occurred. He's gone anywhere from, 110 to 180 overall. But I think he'll be back after week 4 or so, it sounds like, and probably be in there. So just something I can just kind of hold on to. So, which is funny because I was just talking smack about the Jameson Williams pick, but here I am taking Brian Robinson. So is what it is.
Look at that. Ain't life funny, Vlad? Well, I'll tell you.
How it works.
Well, all reports say that Robinson was very lucky. Yes, he was shot, but it seems like it's not going to be too serious or anything at all. No major organs or anything. So really glad that was not a total tragedy. Very happy that he's going to be okay. So let's see how it plays out. That's going to do it for today's stream of the National Fantasy Football Championships 12-team online championship. You can sign up still. National Fantasy Football Championships are taking your reservations for another draft. It's $350 to get into it, and you can save $25. Use promo code Govier, Govier. And, of course, FTN Fantasy. Me and Vlad doing our thing. RotoGun on Twitter. I'm at MJ Govier. Subscribe to our YouTube. If you're seeing this for the first time, we'd love to have you aboard for future streams. We'll do more of those soon. And I think that about covers it, Vlad, right?
Get the DFS package, ftndaily.com.
Of course.
Smash it. Oh, and we have a $1 deal. Get in for the first month of ftnbets.com. If you do any betting whatsoever, get in on that for $1 for the first month.
Yes.
And then you have to give up your firstborn after that, but that's just, that's just how it works. But I'm kidding.
Great call. Yeah, that's a steal deal. $1, folks. $1 for FTN Bets. Make sure you get on that. These guys are sharps for sure. It's been a pleasure. Love the draft. Love doing this. Thanks, everybody in the live chat who jumped in with their questions and your commentary. For Vlad Sedler, I'm Michael Govier. We'll see ya.